Have you ever actually added it up? The cost of trying to keep your mind sharp after 50. The brain games subscriptions, the weekly sessions, the cognitive training programs that promise clarity, focus, memory. I did, and my total came out to just over $300 every single month. And here is the part that bothered me. I wasn't even sure it was working. I remember sitting at my kitchen table one Tuesday morning, coffee getting cold, staring at a login screen for a program I had already paid for. Again. Same exercises, same patterns, same little progress bar that made me feel productive without really knowing if anything in my daily life was actually improving. Be honest. Does any of this sound familiar? You forget a name mid-conversation. You walk into a room and pause, trying to remember why you are there. You reread the same paragraph twice because your focus drifts. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there is that quiet worry. Is this just normal aging, or am I sleeping? So you do what most of us do. You look for help. Structured programs, professional systems, things that promise to train your brain, and they are not cheap. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm just someone who got tired of paying hundreds of dollars for something that felt vague. So I decided to try something different. I gave myself a simple challenge. What if I took that same goal, better focus, sharper memory, more mental clarity, and handed it over to artificial intelligence? Not a fancy lab, not a specialist, just AI tools that anyone can access from a phone or laptop. Low cost, in some cases completely free. And I set a rule. I would replace my $300 cognitive training program entirely. No overlap, no safety net, just AI. 30 days. That was it. No assumptions, no hype, just see what happens. Would it feel like a downgrade? Would it be confusing? Would it actually help? Or just waste more time in a different way? Because here is the thing most people assume. They think expensive equals effective. That if you are paying hundreds a month, it must be doing something important. But what if the real value isn't the program? It's the structure behind it. And what if AI can replicate that structure, faster, cheaper, and tailored to you? That's what I wanted to find out. Before I walk you through exactly what I did, you need to understand why the old way costs so much. Before I walk you through exactly what I did, you need to understand why the old way costs so much. When you pay for a traditional cognitive training program, you are not just paying for games. You are paying for layers. There's the platform itself, the research behind it, the marketing, the customer support, sometimes even a coach or specialist checking in. All of that gets bundled into one monthly price, and it adds up quickly. On paper it sounds impressive. Personalized exercises, progress tracking, memory drills, focus training, reaction speed. It feels structured, it feels official. And for a lot of people, that structure is the real value. But here's the part that surprised me once I stepped back. Most of what these programs actually do comes down to three things: repetition, feedback, and consistency. You repeat certain types of mental tasks, pattern recognition, recall, attention switching. You get feedback in the form of scores or progress bars, and you're encouraged to come back every day. That's it. Now, I'm not saying that's bad. In fact, that's exactly what we need, especially after 50. Not complexity, not overwhelm, just regular, structured mental engagement that fits into real life. But here's the question I couldn't shake. Do you really need a $300 system to get repetition, feedback, and consistency? Or can you build that yourself with the help of AI? So I started looking at what AI tools actually do well. They can generate exercises instantly. They can adjust difficulty based on your responses. They can remember what you struggled with yesterday. They can explain things in plain language. And they are available anytime. No scheduling, no waiting, no extra fees every time you log in. So instead of buying another program, I built my own. Not in a technical way. No coding, no complicated setup. Just a simple workflow using one main tool, ChatGPT. You've probably heard of it. Maybe you've even tried it once or twice. But most people use it like a search engine. Ask a question, get an answer, move on. That's not what I did. I used it like a personal trainer for my brain. Every day, I opened a new session and gave it a very specific instruction. Something like, act as a cognitive training coach for someone over 50. Give me a 15-minute routine to improve memory, focus, and mental flexibility. Keep it simple. Increase difficulty gradually. And here's where things got interesting. Instead of generic games, it started giving me tailored exercises. Word recall challenges based on themes I chose. Short attention drills where I had to track changes in sequences. Mental math, but explained step by step so I wasn't just guessing. Even little storytelling tasks that forced me to remember details and connect ideas. It wasn't flashy, no bright colors, no sound effects, just text on a screen. But it adapted. If I struggled, I told it. If something felt too easy, I said so. And the next day, the routine shifted slightly. Not dramatically, just enough to keep me engaged. Now, I didn't want to fool myself into thinking this was working just because it felt new. So I set some ground rules for the experiment. First, duration. 30 days. No skipping. Even on days I didn't feel like it. Second, time limit. About 15 to 20 minutes per session. I didn't want this turning into a full-time job. Third, no overlap. I completely stopped using my paid program. If I was going to compare, I needed a clean break. Fourth, real-world checks. I paid attention to small everyday things, names, conversations. Focus while reading, not just how I scored on exercises. And finally, honesty. If it felt like a waste of time, I would say so. If it helped, I would say that too. No trying to prove a point. Because here's the truth. Most people don't stick with cognitive programs because they are too hard or too expensive. They quit because they get bored. Or they don't see a connection between the exercises and their real life. So my goal wasn't just to train my brain. It was to see if AI could make the process feel more relevant, more personal, something I would actually keep doing. And I'll be honest with you, the first few days felt a little strange. No polished interface, no leaderboard, no feeling that I was inside some professionally designed system. Just me, a screen, and an AI generating tasks in real time. But then something started to shift. Not dramatically, not overnight. Just enough to make me curious about what would happen next. And that's where the real experiment began. By day 3, I realized something important. This was not going to feel like a polished program. There were no badges, no cheerful sounds when I got something right, no little animations telling me I was improving. At first, that felt like a downgrade. But then I noticed something else. I was paying more attention. Because there was nothing distracting me, no game layer, no shortcuts, just the task in front of me and my own effort. A typical session started the same way. I'd sit down with my coffee, open ChatGPT, and type a simple prompt. Give me today's 15-minute brain routine. Focus on memory and attention. Slightly harder than yesterday. Within seconds, it would respond with a structured set of exercises. One day, it gave me a list of 12 random words. Nothing special, just words like bridge, candle, forest, ticket. I had 60 seconds to memorize them. Then it asked me questions. Not just repeat the list, but things like, Which word was third? Or name the two words related to places. That forced me to organize the information instead of just memorizing it. Sounds simple, right? It wasn't. By the fifth question, I could feel my brain working harder than it had during most of those flashy app games. Another day, it created a pattern-switching task. Numbers and letters mixed together. I had to alternate between them while following a rule that changed halfway through. I messed that one up completely the first time. And here's the key difference. Instead of just marking it wrong and moving on, the AI explained where I lost track. In plain language. No jargon. Just, you switched too early here, or you held on to the previous rule longer than needed. That feedback mattered, because it wasn't just telling me I was wrong. It was showing me how I was thinking. Around day 7, I hit my first wall. I didn't feel like doing it. No motivation, no excitement, just that familiar voice saying, "You can skip today. It won't matter." And this is where most programs lose people. But instead of quitting, I tried something different. I told the AI exactly how I felt. I typed, "I'm tired today. Give me a shorter, lighter routine, but still useful." And it adjusted. 5-minute exercises, simpler tasks. Still structured, but less demanding. That flexibility kept me going. Now, was it perfect? No. Sometimes the exercises felt repetitive. Sometimes it misunderstood my instructions and gave me something too easy or too complicated. A couple of times I had to rephrase my request just to get what I wanted. And yes, there were moments where I missed the simplicity of just opening an app and tapping start. Because this required a little effort, a little thinking up front. But here's what surprised me. I started noticing small changes outside the sessions. Nothing dramatic. No sudden, I feel 20 years younger moment. Just subtle things. I was remembering names a little faster during conversations. Not perfectly, but with less hesitation. I could follow longer discussions without drifting off as quickly. When I read something, I didn't have to go back as often. And the biggest one? I felt more aware of how I was thinking. That's hard to explain unless you've experienced it. It's like catching yourself before your attention slips, or realizing you're about to forget something and mentally holding on to it just a bit longer. Around day 15, I decided to push it. I asked for more complex routines. Multi-step memory tasks, longer sequences, even small problem-solving challenges that combined logic and recall. Some days it felt like too much. I'd get halfway through and think, this is beyond me. But then I'd slow down, break it into pieces, and more often than not, I could complete it. Not perfectly, but better than I expected. And that built something I didn't anticipate. Confidence. Not the loud kind. Not, I've mastered this. Just a quiet sense that my brain was still capable of adapting, still capable of learning. By day 20, the routine had become normal. Not exciting, not something I looked forward to every morning, but something I did without resistance, like brushing your teeth. And that consistency is where things started to add up. Because it wasn't about any single exercise. It was about showing up, adjusting, and staying engaged over time. Still, I had one big question left. Was this actually better than what I was paying $300 a month for? Or did it just feel better because it was new, flexible, and cheap? That answer didn't come from the exercises themselves. It came from what changed, and what didn't by the end of the 30 days. So, after 30 days, here's the honest answer. Did AI magically transform my memory? No. Did it turn me into someone who never forgets names, never loses focus, never walks into a room wondering why I'm there? Also no. But something did change, and it was enough to make me stop paying $300 a month. Because when I compared the two, my old cognitive training program and what I built with AI, the difference wasn't in flashy features or scientific claims. It was in how it fit into my life. The paid program felt like something I had to keep up with, a system I logged into, a routine someone else designed for me. The AI approach felt like something I owned. If I had a busy day, I could shorten it. If I felt sharp, I could push harder. If I noticed a specific weakness, like struggling with names or losing focus while reading, I could target that directly the next day. That level of flexibility mattered more than I expected. And here's the part most people don't talk about. Consistency beats perfection. Those expensive programs are great if you use them regularly. But if you skip days or lose interest or feel disconnected from the exercises, the value drops fast. With AI, I didn't need to feel motivated every day. I just needed to show up and type a sentence. Give me today's routine. That was enough to get started. Now, let's talk about results in real terms. I didn't suddenly gain hours of productivity. I didn't become a memory champion. But I did notice fewer mental hiccups, fewer moments where I completely blanked on something simple, better focus during conversations, a little more confidence when I had to remember details. Small improvements, but steady. And over time, those small improvements feel bigger than they sound, because they show up in everyday life. Not just on a screen. Now I need to be very clear about something. This is my personal experience. It's not medical advice. It's not a diagnosis. It's not a replacement for professional care. If you have concerns about memory, cognition, medications, or any health-related issue, you should talk to a licensed professional who understands your situation. What I'm sharing here is simply what happened when I replaced one routine with another. And that brings us to the bigger question. Who is this actually for? If you're someone who needs structure handed to you, who prefers a polished system, who doesn't want to think about what to do each day, a traditional program might still be the better choice. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're even a little bit curious, if you like the idea of adjusting things to your own pace, if you've ever looked at a monthly subscription and thought, am I really getting my money's worth? Then this approach might be worth trying, especially after 50, when routines matter more than intensity. Now, let's talk about the limitations. AI is not perfect. It can misunderstand you. It can repeat itself. It doesn't know your full medical history, your medications, your unique cognitive needs. And it doesn't replace human judgment. If something feels off, you don't push through it just because a screen told you to. You stay aware. You stay practical. But for everyday mental engagement, for keeping your brain active, challenged, and involved, it can be surprisingly effective and very affordable. In my case, I went from $300 a month to essentially zero, not by cutting corners, not by ignoring my health, just by changing how I approach the problem. So here's a simple next step you can try. Tomorrow morning, instead of opening a paid app, open an AI tool. Type one sentence. Create a 10-minute cognitive routine for someone over 50, focused on memory and attention. That's it. See what it gives you. Try it for a few days. Adjust it. Make it yours. No commitment, no subscription, no pressure. And then ask yourself the same question I did. Is this enough? Because for me, it was. Not perfect, not revolutionary, but enough to keep my mind engaged, my habits consistent, and my wallet a little lighter. And sometimes that's exactly what we're looking for.